Hello everybody and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today I'm playing against Limo. A Limo. He is a giant specialist. I am a supply specialist. One of my happiest hands that I can see are the Mustang and snipers. I just love being able to shoot air and ground units easily. I like having rapid damage all-rounder chaff killer units, as well as some good single point damage in the form of snipers. So very happy about that. My opponent ends up playing out some crawlers. Probably a good choice here, just because although Mustang are great units, they're not the best unit at anything, especially dealing with early game crawlers. It does take them a couple of minutes. Well, not a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, but those seconds can really add up. I was debating about grabbing some steel balls here, just because the steel balls would deal really well with these tanks. I'm like, do I go with the headbutt? I'll have to show you guys a video where I've done a headbutt. I don't do them very often, maybe once every 50 games or so. So I've only done it 2 or 3 times in my entire time playing Mechabellum. It's such a powerful strategy, and I've won every time that I've done it, but it does feel dirty. Really, if you spawn in with steel balls and Mustang, or steel balls and crawlers, you're suddenly in a really good spot for it. But this is why I picked the steel balls. Specifically, look how long it took him to get through this flank, and I'm just able to crush it. Those crawlers weren't an issue because my steel balls were able to soak a ton of damage for my Mustang, which gives my snipers more than enough time to come in here and deal with those snipers, as well as the steel balls just having even more HP for me to survive. Another reason I picked the steel balls here is because they pair very nicely against a giant specialist. Most giants have trouble against steel balls, because most giants only shoot a single entity. Obviously, things like war factories actually do really well against steel balls because they have 4 separate shots that they can send out, and also they can spawn units, so the steel balls tend to slow down and have a problem with that. I grabbed the subsidized steel balls because I knew I was playing at least one more of them. I was thinking about setting up another section of them. My go-to build so far has been the steel ball Mustangs, given our current playstyle. I also grabbed the health increase here just because I had a few extra bucks. I want these steel balls to take even longer to die. He doesn't have any great single point damage on the field, so if I just have a bunch of steel balls with a ton of HP, I'm going to be in a good spot. I don't really have great wave clear. My Mustang are adequate, but they're not great. My opponent plays $100 of missiles here, so I'm incredibly happy with this. Yes, I'm almost certainly going to lose this round, but that's a unit of crawlers that he did not play, or a tech upgrade that he does not have. So my units will, over time, start to perform better than him. I would not recommend playing too many deployables at the very beginning of the game, just because their effectiveness isn't great. Granted, he is going to get a unit of steel balls and a unit of Mustang for those missiles, so pretty darn good overall as missiles go. That was a ton of good damage, so he knows what he was doing, though. It just means that all of his units are relatively weak going into this, so I should have a slight power increase compared to him. I was debating about the redeployment or the speed specialist. Haste module is incredibly good, but given how I'm the one going into him, I figured having this would be better. My opponent makes an interesting decision to grab an Overlord here. Overlords, again, are just super popular, and I'm really not sure why. A lot of the times when I've played against Overlords, I've just absolutely crushed them. I haven't really had any troubles with Overlords basically ever. I'm not really scared of them at all. They do have some very good upgrades. The most important upgrade to me on the Overlords is the photon coating, but without them, I really have no worries. My sniper gets overwhelmed here very quickly. It didn't really stand much of a chance, but my flanks are doing quite well, so I'm pretty happy about that. I really don't have enough to deal with this right now, but given that the giant specialist is already out, I knew that I would probably lose to a random spawn giant. You know, just being able to save those extra 200 bucks to unlock the giant is very powerful, or, you know, or more if you're unlocking the war factory. So a little bit of damage here again. Again, not too worried about it. I have all the tools that I need to deal with this, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I grabbed the incendiary bomb just because he has a huge concentration of crawlers and other weak units here. The incendiary bomb will actually kill tanks if they're not upgraded. If they're sitting in it long enough, it will kill them. So I was like, this is great. Grab my Phoenix. Steel Ball Phoenix and Mustang are an incredibly good combo together. You can complement them with basically anything, and it just works. I even grab another unit of crawlers here because his main wave clear are these arc lights, which I don't really have much of a problem getting rid of at this point. So just having some more crawlers to flow through in the back line after I've killed everything is a great way to cause his whatever it is, to cause his motherships a lot of annoyance. Fire does a great job, takes out all of those tanks. It allows my Mustang to even get online and start dealing damage here. The motherships aren't quick enough to track fast units, so having things like the steel balls just be able to split off is really, really good. This was a small solution, but he'd already spent a lot of money on missiles, so I was okay with spending a little bit of money on damage. Now, I could have gone with the orbital javelin here, but instead I think I go with the advanced firepower. I do. Pop it on these guys, which luckily they're on the side that this overlord with the portable shield popped out on. And I've realized that a lot of his units are kind of confined in this one area. So if I can get rid of the majority of those flanking units, I should be in a good spot. Now that my Mustang are level 2, they're able to deal with these crawlers a little bit better. I'm a little nervous about my chaff killing capability. So I'm thinking about possibly grabbing maybe 2 or 3 more Mustang next round. Just because, of course, they deal incredibly well with the overlords, but also they'll deal well with the chaff. It's putting a lot of my money into a single unit, which is generally pretty good in Mechabellum. Because if I have 6 or 7 of these guys and I give them all range, that's a lot more of an impact than doing it with 2 or 3 units. I would normally recommend the range over the aerial specialist, but in this case, the amount of overlords coming out is getting a little insane, so I would probably go aerial specialist in this case. Stormcaller shots are going out, doing a great job, able to plink away some damage here, get rid of these tanks and things a little bit earlier. My crawlers come in and just support my Mustang for that extra second, that way they can deal the damage to get rid of all these little nuisance guys, and then get online and start killing them. Advanced firepower is great on Mustang. They shoot so fast that being able to just pump out a ton more damage with that is incredibly powerful. Mustang are pretty much the best unit for any type of attack damage increase, including the amp core, just because they fire so quickly. Nano repair kit comes out on the overlord, and he can get the armor enhancement. Really important choice by my opponent here. This is going to shut down my Mustang as anti-air quite a bit, just because even with the extra damage, they're not really going to be hurting these guys too much, especially this guy that can continually heal. So great choice on his part. I end up grabbing the anti-air because I was like, yeah, it's probably good enough. These Mustang are doing 77 damage plus an extra 75%, so they're doing like 150-ish damage, maybe a little bit less. 130, and the this thing blocks 60 damage per level, I believe. Yeah, it's increased per level, so this thing's basically blocking all the damage that my Mustang are putting out. So very good choice on his part. I think he should have upgraded these tanks, or at least played some more tanks, just so that he would have a little bit more defense. There isn't really anything here stopping my units from getting in and overwhelming. And these crawlers are dying off pretty darn quick to my level 2 and level 3 Mustang at this point. So we'll see. The fire goes out. It's looking pretty good on this side and this left side. These guys just absolutely kill all of those crawlers. I'm really been pleased with these Phoenix. They've been performing exceedingly well. Just able to plink in a ton of damage there. And importantly, mama ships, or overlords as they're called, tend to fire at things on the ground over things in the air. So you're much more likely to be able to take them out with Phoenix than you are with Mustang, so that's why I like to pair it. These guys did really, really well against that. against that Overlord because they had the Amp Core. Amp Core incredibly important. I end up grabbing the upgrades on all of my central units just because I want to keep winning this central war, and I grab an extremely important upgrade, which is the Mechanical Division. I want to make sure that I'm protecting my crawlers, but I also want to make sure that all of the shots coming out from my from these Overlords are hitting wasted units. So once these guys deploy, let's say that the Overlord ends up shooting the steel balls, they should die, and then hopefully some crawlers come out, which pulls aggro of the Overlord. It turns around to face, and my steel balls are able to deal damage to whatever it is that they need to do. It's just a really, really powerful way to delay the enemy. I didn't realize it, but some Vulcan came out here as well. I did not think that's what he would do, but man, was I happy that I had those steel balls, because they're able to protect me for quite a while. This little Mustang are doing great damage. Level 3 with that damage increase, 325 damage a shot. They're just able to munch through these Overlords, and I believe this will be the coup de grace, as now all my snipers are getting online. Having them at level 3, pretty important, able to deal some good damage, and the Stormcallers able to do a lot of damage. So let's move into our after-action report. I don't think this Vulcan was the right choice. You know, if I hadn't deployed these steel balls, they would have been a pretty darn good job. They would have done a pretty darn good job. They would have easily been able to clear away these 2-ish units, and that may have made a difference. For me, really what it came down to was there was a lot of chaff on the field that was being taken care of very easily. I feel like it just didn't flow very well for my opponent, where these units were coming in way before these tanks in the center. So all of my Mustangs and steel balls could clear them away. And then I was left with killing his center line fairly easily. So there wasn't really enough just damage soak. And he already had, at one point, I believe, 3 tanks. Maybe he only spawned 2. But I would have gone with another 2 tanks on each flank, and then maybe given them the mechanical rage or just something. That way my units were getting tied up shooting at them, and they could be dealing damage back, and or having a dedicated sniper unit in the form of something like these Phoenix or some snipers of his own. These snipers actually performed fairly darn well throughout the entire game. Not getting the most kills, but most of the kills that they were getting were on important units like tanks and arc lights. These guys absolutely killed it again. I love to have some Stormcallers, and of course my Mustang with this advanced firepower really did the business. I think maybe 1 or 2 Stormcallers on my opponent's side, especially if they were laying down the fire, would have been extremely damaging, or saving the money, deploying these 2 Vulcan, and then giving them the firebomb as well. Really, my damage was tied up in these units behind a little bit of armor. So being able to spread damage behind that is incredibly important. Vulcan can do it very well. Steel balls can do it, or Stormcallers can do it really well. War Factories have a surprising amount of splash damage. And then also some fortresses can do fairly well, especially if they have the Robo Punch. What can happen is that Robo Punch comes in and takes out an entire brick. So I would, or Rocket Punch as it's called, I would have recommended any of those things. I truly think these Overlords were kind of a waste of time, but they did win him at least 1 round when I didn't really have anything that could shoot up. So I think he kind of got stuck looking at that and then decided to go with it. So on my side, I think I could have diversified a little bit more. If I had gotten a couple of Rhinos, I really think that would have sent him for a tizzy. Or if I deployed a couple of melting points, I think that would have been really good, because I know that he was going to probably play out some more giants, given that he was a giant specialist. He already had 3 on the field. Best giant killer in the game is, of course, a giant in the form of the melting point. But I think I was actually pretty astute here by playing these steel balls in the front. I could then play some Fang. I love to have 2 units or 3 units of Fang with shields at the very front of my line. They hold for a strangely long time, even against things like the Vulcan. But importantly, if the Vulcan plays out fire, it should spit the fire at the Fang. So I can kind of use that to my advantage. Put the Fang right here, let the Vulcan spit fire at them, recycle these Mustang, and put them towards the center. Put some Fang here, Vulcan spits fire, and the rest of my units should be okay to run through that. So those are my tips and tricks. Please send in your videos. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the future.